We're thrilled to have you with us today for a story that will leave you both stunned and deeply moved. What would you do if the most stoic guard in all of England suddenly broke protocol over a simple baby stroller? What could possibly cause airport security to scramble in a matter of seconds? Before we dive into this extraordinary tale, we'd love for you to join our community. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to never miss a story like this. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one and can't wait to hear what you think about this gripping moment. Now, let's step into the heart of a bustling airport checkpoint and uncover the shocking events that unfolded under the watchful eyes of a royal guard. The scene is set at a busy airport security checkpoint, where the hum of travelers, the beep of scanners, and the shuffle of luggage create a constant rhythm of controlled chaos. The air is thick with the tension of hurried passengers and the sharp focus of security personnel, each person moving through the motions of routine checks under the ever-present weight of safety protocols. The fluorescent lights overhead cast a sterile glow on the long lines of people, some clutching boarding passes, others juggling bags and children, all eager to get through to their gates. The checkpoint is a crossroads of stories: business travelers on tight schedules, families heading to vacations, solo adventurers with backpacks slung over their shoulders, each face carrying a unique blend of anticipation or exhaustion. Amidst this sea of movement stands a figure of stillness, a stark contrast to the flurry around him. Corporal Edward Hale, a royal guard with 15 years of service, is often seen as a living statue by those who pass by, his presence both imposing and enigmatic. At 38, Hale is a man of unwavering discipline, his scarlet tunic and bearskin hat a symbol of British tradition. His face an unreadable mask honed by years of standing sentinel amidst crowds at Buckingham Palace and other historic sites. But beneath this stoic exterior lies a protector, a shield for the most fragile among us, shaped by a quiet incident early in his career, when he aided a lost child despite strict protocol, a moment that redefined his purpose and instilled a deeper sense of duty. On this particular morning, assigned to a special security detail at the airport as part of a heightened alert initiative, Hale's goal extends beyond ceremonial duty. It's to safeguard lives, to be the last line of defense against unseen dangers lurking in plain sight. As travelers stream past, some casting curious glances at his iconic uniform, Hale stands vigilant, his sharp eyes scanning for anything amiss, unaware that a moment of crisis is about to test his resolve in the most unexpected way. Amid the flow of passengers weaving through the security line, a young mother approaches the checkpoint, her face etched with a tension that sets her apart from the crowd. Her hands grip the handle of a baby stroller tightly, her knuckles whitening under the strain, her eyes darting nervously between the security officers and the surrounding throng of travelers. She's dressed simply, in a faded jacket and jeans, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, but there's a subtle unease in her movements, a rigidity that doesn't match the typical harried demeanor of a parent traveling with an infant. Corporal Hale, trained to notice the smallest deviations in behavior from his years of observing crowds at high-profile locations, picks up on her anxiety instantly. Her posture is too stiff, her glances too frequent, her demeanor lacking the exhausted warmth or distracted frustration most mothers exhibit when navigating airport chaos with a child in tow. More strikingly, the stroller itself seems off. There's no movement beneath the blanket draped over it, no sound of a restless child, no telltale wiggle or cry that one would expect from a baby in such a noisy, overstimulating environment. As she nears the X-ray machine, too large to fit the stroller through without a manual check, Hale steps forward for a visual and physical inspection, a routine procedure for oversized items as outlined in security protocols, similar to those at airports like Arnold Palmer Regional. The crowd around slows, sensing something unusual in the air, their murmurs fading as all eyes turn to the guard and the stroller. Hale's voice is calm but firm as he requests to check beneath the blanket, his tone professional, yet carrying an undercurrent of concern. In that moment, the entire checkpoint seems to hold its breath, the ambient noise of the airport dimming as travelers and staff alike wait for what he might uncover. The tension escalates as Hale lifts the blanket with a steady hand, his movements deliberate and measured, revealing not just a sleeping infant but something far more alarming, a handgun, carefully wrapped in duct tape, tucked into a side pocket of the stroller. The discovery, reminiscent of a real incident at Arnold Palmer Regional Airport, where a loaded .380 caliber handgun was found in a stroller pocket, sends an immediate shockwave through the checkpoint. Gasps ripple through the crowd, travelers stepping back instinctively as security personnel spring into action, their radios crackling with urgent calls for backup. Police swarm the area, cordoning off the lane as protocol demands when firearms are detected at checkpoints, causing delays and heightened alerts as noted in TSA guidelines. The young mother's face crumples into panic, her hands trembling as she stammers incoherent explanations, her eyes wide with fear rather than malice. Her voice breaks as she tries to speak, her words lost in the chaos, while her child, now awake, begins to whimper softly, adding a heartbreaking layer to the unfolding drama. All attention turns to Hale, who stands as the focal point of this sudden crisis. His decision to break the silence of his observational role, proving to be the critical moment that exposed a hidden threat. The airport hums with heightened alert, officers moving swiftly to secure the weapon, their faces grim as they follow strict procedures for handling prohibited items in carry-on luggage. Hale remains a steady presence amidst the flurry, his gaze now fixed on the mother and child, his instincts telling him there's more to this story than a simple act of defiance or criminal intent. The crowd watches in stunned silence, some whispering to each other, "Did you see that?" while others clutch their own belongings tighter. The reality of danger in such a mundane setting sinking in. The fluorescent lights seem harsher now, casting stark shadows on the faces of those caught in this unexpected moment of high stakes. The climax of this heart-wrenching moment reveals a truth far more painful than anyone could have anticipated, peeling back layers of assumption to expose a raw human struggle. As police question the mother in a secluded area away from the public eye, her story spills out in broken sobs, her voice trembling with a mix of shame and desperation. She's not a criminal, not a threat in the way security initially feared, but a victim of domestic abuse, trapped in a cycle of terror under the control of a powerful, violent partner who has left her with no safe haven. The gun, she confesses, was hidden in the stroller not for malice, but for self-defense, a desperate measure to protect herself and her child from a threat the law has failed to shield her from. She knew carrying it was illegal, especially at an airport checkpoint where firearms are strictly prohibited in carry-on items as per TSA rules. But her terror of being found defenseless outweighed the risk of arrest. She recounts how she's fled before, only to be tracked down, how restraining orders have been ignored, how every day is a gamble of survival for her and her little one. Hale, standing nearby as the confession unfolds under the watchful eyes of security, sees beyond the breach of law to the raw fear in her eyes, a fear he recognizes from years of witnessing human struggle beneath his stoic guard duty. It's the fear of someone pushed to the edge, a silent plea for safety that resonates with stories of compassion, where royal guards break protocol for those in distress. As seen in heartwarming accounts on YouTube, his decision to inspect the stroller, to act beyond mere observation, becomes not just a security measure but a lifeline, exposing a hidden crisis that might have otherwise gone unnoticed in the rush of the checkpoint. The crowd, initially shocked by the weapon, now watches in somber silence from a distance, their expressions softening with empathy as snippets of the mother's story filter through whispers among security staff. A few travelers, overhearing the context, lower their phones, their faces reflecting a newfound understanding of the unseen burdens some carry even in the most public of spaces. The airport's relentless pace slows for a moment, as if acknowledging the weight of this woman's reality, a stark reminder that danger isn't always what it seems at first glance. The story closes with a poignant image of resolution and lingering questions that echo long after the incident has passed. After the police and social services intervene, ensuring the mother and child are placed under protective care rather than punitive action, a process often initiated in cases of domestic violence as outlined in support protocols. Corporal Hale kneels down to the toddler, who has been quietly clutching a stuffed bunny throughout the chaos. With a gentle touch, he hands the toy back to the boy, his voice soft but carrying the weight of his duty. You and your mom are safe now, under the protection of the crown. The words, though simple, offer a promise of security, a moment of humanity that mirrors the kindness shown by royal guards in stories of breaking protocol for children in need, often shared in viral narratives online. The child looks up at Hale, his small face still marked by confusion, but softened by the guard's calm presence. A tiny hand reaching out to touch the scarlet fabric of his uniform, as if seeking reassurance. The mother, standing nearby with a social worker, wipes tears from her eyes, her expression a mix of relief and lingering fear, but also gratitude as she mouths a silent thank you to Hale. The checkpoint slowly returns to its routine, travelers moving through with hushed whispers of what they've witnessed. Their conversations a blend of awe and somber reflection. Security personnel resume their posts, though a few cast respectful nods toward Hale, acknowledging the significance of his actions beyond the immediate threat. But the deeper resonance remains, a question that hangs in the air like an unspoken challenge to us all. How many others pass through our lives each day, hiding desperation behind a forced smile or a hurried step? Could you spot a mother silently begging for help amidst a crowd? Her fear masked by the mundane Hale's actions remind us that beneath the uniform, beyond the rigid rules, there's a human capacity to see and act when it matters most. A theme echoed in countless narratives of guards showing unexpected compassion in moments of crisis. This story isn't just about a stroller or a hidden gun. It's about the invisible struggles we might overlook if we don't look closely enough, if we don't pause to see the person behind the problem. Let's reflect a bit more on what unfolded at that airport checkpoint, because there's so much to unpack from this brief but profound encounter. The setting itself, an airport security checkpoint, is a place of transition, a liminal space where people are often at their most vulnerable, stripped of belongings for inspection, hurried by schedules, and under the scrutiny of authority. It's a place where anonymity reigns, where a mother in distress can blend into the crowd, her silent cries for help drowned out by the beep of metal detectors and the shuffle of feet. Corporal Hale, standing as a symbol of order in this chaotic environment, became more than a guard in that moment. He became a beacon of awareness, a reminder that even in the most routine settings, danger and desperation can hide in plain sight. For many of us, over 45, who've perhaps navigated life's busy crossroads, airports, offices, public spaces, and seen or sensed unspoken struggles, this story might resonate on a personal level. Maybe you've noticed someone out of place, a face marked by fear rather than fatigue, or felt a gut instinct to act despite the rush around you. Hale's vigilance mirrors those moments, showing that true duty often extends beyond the written rules to the unwritten call of humanity. Have you ever sensed a hidden crisis in a public space, or acted on a hunch that something was wrong? We'd love to hear your stories in the comments. Let's consider the mother's perspective for a moment, because her story adds a heartbreaking depth to this narrative. Trapped in a cycle of domestic abuse, she lived in a constant state of fear, her every move dictated by the threat of violence from a partner who wielded power over her life. The gun in the stroller, though a dangerous and illegal choice, was her desperate attempt at protection, a shield for herself and her child when the system police, courts, shelters had failed to provide lasting safety. Her confession, as recounted through her sobs to the authorities, revealed a reality faced by countless victims of domestic violence, where fear drives actions that seem irrational to outsiders, but are born of survival. A theme echoed in real-life accounts of women hiding weapons for defense as noted in domestic violence support resources. Her nervous glances, her rigid posture, her trembling hands were all silent signals of distress, signals that Hale picked up on when others might have dismissed her as just another stressed traveler. For those of us who've known or supported someone in an abusive situation, or faced our own battles with fear, this might recall the weight of living under constant threat, the lengths one goes to for even a semblance of security. How have you seen or experienced the hidden signs of such struggles? Share your experiences with us in the comments. Let's also think about the child in the stroller, because his presence adds an even more poignant layer to this story. A toddler, too young to understand the danger or the chaos unfolding around him, clutching his stuffed bunny as a source of comfort amidst the noise and tension of the airport. His silence beneath the blanket, his small whimpers when the gun was discovered, his tentative reach for Hale's uniform, all paint a picture of innocence caught in a storm not of his making. Hale's gentle return of the bunny, his soft words of reassurance, became a moment of safety for this child, a brief respite from a life likely marked by the undercurrents of fear and instability at home. This mirrors themes in stories of royal guards showing kindness to children, often shared on platforms like YouTube, where a guard's humanity shines through in small, tender gestures. For many of us who've worked with children or witnessed their vulnerability in crisis, this might evoke memories of the profound impact a single act of kindness can have on a young life. How have you seen or offered comfort to a child in distress? We'd love to hear your stories in the comments. Let's linger on Hale's role, because his actions are the linchpin of this narrative, embodying a balance of duty and compassion that challenges our understanding of protocol. As a royal guard, Hale is trained to remain impassive, to uphold tradition and security through stillness and observation, especially in ceremonial or high-profile settings like Buckingham Palace. His assignment to an airport detail, though less ceremonial, still carried the expectation of rigid adherence to role observe, report, do not engage beyond necessity. Yet, when faced with the subtle signs of distress from the mother and the anomaly of the stroller, Hale broke that silence, stepping forward to inspect when he could have deferred to standard security staff. His decision, much like accounts of guards breaking protocol for lost children or ill individuals as seen in viral stories, was a calculated risk, driven by an instinct to protect that superseded the rulebook. Kneeling to return the child's toy, offering words of safety under the protection of the crown, showed a humanity that transcends uniform, a reminder that even the most disciplined among us can act from the heart when lives are at stake. For those of us who've held roles bound by strict rules, whether in military, professional, or personal contexts, this might recall moments where bending protocol felt like the only right choice. Have you ever broken a rule to protect someone, or seen someone do so for the greater good? Share your reflections with us in the comments. Let's explore the broader impact of this incident, because its ripples extend far beyond the airport checkpoint. The mother and child, now under protective care, represent a small victory in the larger battle against domestic violence, a systemic issue that often leaves victims with few safe options, as highlighted in resources like those from domestic violence support networks. Their story, though resolved in this moment with Hale's intervention, raises awareness of the hidden crises travelers might carry through public spaces, prompting security and social services to perhaps look closer at behavioral cues in future screenings. Hale's actions, while not changing policy as dramatically as some guard stories, likely earned quiet respect among his peers and superiors, reinforcing the value of vigilance beyond the ceremonial, a theme echoed in narratives of guards acting as unsung heroes in public safety. The crowd's shift from shock to empathy, as they overheard the mother's truth, mirrors public sentiment in similar real-life incidents, where initial judgment gives way to understanding once context emerges. For us, especially those over 45 who've seen societal awareness of domestic violence evolve, this might prompt reflection on how public spaces can become arenas for both crisis and compassion. When have you seen a public incident reveal a deeper human struggle? We'd love to hear about it in the comments. Let's imagine for a moment what might have happened if Hale hadn't acted, if he'd adhered strictly to his observational role and led the stroller pass to standard security without personal intervention. It's a chilling thought, but worth considering. Without his keen observation, the gun might have gone undetected through a busy checkpoint, a risk highlighted in real TSA reports of weapons missed during peak times. The mother's desperation might have remained hidden, her fear unnoticed, potentially leading to a tragic outcome later if her abuser found her defenseless. Alternatively, if security had caught the weapon without context, she might have faced harsher consequences, separated from her child under criminal charges rather than protective care. A fate faced by some victims, as noted in domestic violence case studies. Hale's instinct to act, to look closer, shifted the narrative from potential disaster to a moment of rescue. This hypothetical underscores the stakes of vigilance, the razor-thin line between routine and revelation. For those of us who face split-second decisions with lasting impact, this might recall the weight of choosing to act or stand by. What would have guided your decision in Hale's position? Share your thoughts with us in the comments. Let's also reflect on the systemic failures that led the mother to such a desperate act, because her story points to larger societal issues. Living under the threat of domestic abuse, she felt forced to carry a weapon, risking arrest over vulnerability, a choice born from a lack of trust in legal protections like restraining orders, which often fail victims as documented in advocacy reports. Her situation reflects a broader reality for many women and children, where public spaces like airports become both a potential escape and a terrifying exposure. With no guaranteed safety net, Hale's intervention, while a moment of individual compassion, can't solve the systemic gaps: police response times, shelter availability, legal loopholes that leave victims like her in peril. This mirrors themes in stories of domestic violence survivors who resort to extreme measures for safety, often shared in awareness campaigns. For many of us who've supported or known survivors, or faced systemic barriers ourselves, this might evoke frustration with structures that fail the most vulnerable. How have you seen or addressed systemic failures in protecting those in need? We'd love to hear your experiences in the comments. Let's circle back to the child's stuffed bunny, because that small detail carries profound emotional weight. Throughout the chaos, the discovery of the gun, the mother's panic, the police intervention, the toddler clung to that toy, a symbol of comfort in a world of uncertainty. Hale's act of returning it, ensuring it wasn't lost in the shuffle of security procedures, was a gesture of care, a recognition of the child's need for something familiar amidst upheaval. This echoes moments in guard stories where small acts of kindness, a returned toy, a reassuring word, become lifelines for children, as seen in heartwarming online accounts. For those of us who've comforted children or found solace in small tokens during crisis, this might recall the power of seemingly trivial gestures to restore a sense of normalcy. What small act of kindness has made a big difference for you or someone else? Share your stories with us in the comments. Let's keep exploring the layers of this story, because there's always more to uncover in acts of courage and compassion like Hale's. Consider the airport as a microcosm of society, a place where diverse lives intersect, where stress and anonymity often mask deeper struggles. The mother's hidden fear, the child's silent vulnerability, Hale's unexpected humanity, all played out in a space designed for security, yet blind to personal crises without individual intervention. This mirrors broader themes in public safety narratives, where routine settings become stages for profound human drama, often overlooked until someone like Hale steps forward. For us, it might prompt thoughts on how we move through public spaces, whether we notice the subtle cries for help in a stranger's eyes or posture. How often do we rush past potential distress, caught in our own hurry? Have you ever paused to help someone in a busy place, or wished you had? We'd love to hear your reflections in the comments. Let's also ponder the aftermath for Hale, because his story doesn't end with returning the bunny or ensuring safety. Though not facing formal recognition or policy change, as in some dramatized guard tales, his actions likely earned quiet respect among colleagues, perhaps a nod from a superior or a shared story among security staff. Internally, this moment might have reinforced his belief in balancing duty with compassion, a personal evolution echoing guards who've acted similarly in accounts of aiding the vulnerable. Maybe he returned to his post at Buckingham Palace with a renewed sense of purpose, scanning crowds not just for threats, but for silent pleas, for those of us who've acted in crisis. This might recall how such moments shape our future approach to duty or care. How has a single act of intervention changed your perspective or role? Share with us in the comments. Let's revisit the mother's journey, because her path forward is as critical as the incident itself. Placed under protective care with her child, supported by social services, as often happens in domestic violence interventions, she faces a long road of healing and rebuilding trust in safety systems. Her gratitude to Hale, her relief at being seen, marks a turning point, but the scars of abuse linger, a reality for many survivors, as noted in support resources. This echoes themes in stories of victims finding temporary refuge after public crisis, where intervention is just the first step. For many of us who've supported recovery or experienced it, this might evoke the slow, often unseen process of rebuilding after trauma. How have you seen or helped someone start anew after crisis? We'd love to hear your experiences in the comments. Let's think about the crowd one more time, because their evolving reaction reflects our collective capacity for empathy. Initially shocked by the gun, ready to judge the mother as a threat, their shift to somber understanding as her story emerged shows a willingness to see beyond first impressions. This mirrors public responses in real incidents where context changes perception, as seen in TSA or security narratives online. Their silence, their lowered phones, their softened faces became a quiet support, a contrast to the initial tension. For those of us who've judged too quickly or seen others do so,